Okay, so we're going to talk about how to use the Kreg Jig to attach piece C and piece B together. We have that butt joint that we've worked on, and we're going to use a system of pocket holes known as the Kreg Jig to put that together. So I've obviously these aren't the same size as your piece C and B, but I've labeled them so that that's C on the bottom, and that's C on the top, and B inside, and B outside. So obviously we want the inside to go like this, and top facing up, so we have it set up like that, okay? I'm gonna move the camera now and zoom in so you can see how to set up the Kreg Jig. Okay, so we're at the Kreg Jig, and the first thing you have to do is we have to get our drill bit, and our drill bit looks like this. We want to get that set up for the proper depth. And so everything on the Kreg Jig is based on how thick our material is, okay? So in this situation, all of your board should be 1.25 inches thick. So here we're going to zoom in, and you can see that I have 1/2, 3/4, 1.25 inches, and 1.5 inches is at the same line. And so we're actually gonna go to that line. And how we wanna do this is we want the shoulder of the bit, okay? So not the tip. If it was like this, that would be incorrect. We want the shoulder of the bit at 1.25 inches, okay? So after we have that set up the right depth like I showed you, we get our collar. And the collar basically goes around the top of the bit up here. And what it allows us to do is we're going to tighten this down, and that collar is going to provide a stop so that our drill bit can only go so deep. So once I have my collar in place, you grab an Allen wrench. This is a new kind of special Allen wrench. You can use this one. There should be another one in the case, but this one, we simply put it in the set screw of the collar right there, and then we're tightening it down so that that locks in place. Okay, and so that is our final setup on that drill bit. And if you want to double check our measurements, we'll come right over here. Now you can see our stop collar is set in place, and the shoulder of the bit is right at 1.25 inches. Okay, so setting up the bit to the right length, that was kind of step one. And the second thing we have to do then is set up the jig to the right depth. And so if you look just at this thing right here, we have all these measurements. Okay, and again, what we're looking for is the thickness of our material. So we want 1.25 inches, so we're gonna set it up at that depth. So I put it back in the jig, and I'm gonna slide it down until that mark is at the top of the jig, and then I tighten it down with this little screw. And this can be done for any thickness, but that's for our 1.25 inch setup. All right, we're back here ready to drill our holes now. And so you're gonna wanna drill like this that has the chuck that adjusts by spinning it. Okay, and we're going to put our drill bit in there. Tighten it down. And then you want to set this up so that it's on the drill bit setting, which is the lowest on that side. Right now it's on the screw setting, and now we just adjusted it to that. And then for the speed, right now it's at 1. We want that on 2, so I slid it down so that the 2 is showing, and my drill is now set up. As far as the jig goes, I like to clamp it down. So I grabbed a couple clamps from over by our double doors there where the clamps are. And I'm just gonna hold this jig in place so it doesn't scoot around on me. And going back to our pieces, I have the inside of B, the top of C, and they're gonna go together like this. This one into this one. So C is what's actually going to get the holes. We want our pocket holes on the bottom. So I'm gonna make sure that the C bottom is facing towards where the drill bit's gonna go. So I'm taking the bottom right here, and putting it in the jig the correct way, facing towards where the drill bit goes. And then this is all adjustable here too, and it's pretty easy to set up. We just want this little clamp to be able to hold our piece in there good, and you spin the holding part to get to the right thickness. And I have it centered on my jig. And basically I'm ready to make my cut now. So I start with the drill bit right in the jig, and I pull it away so it's not touching the wood yet. And then I'm gonna go full speed and then start drilling in. And as I drill in, you'll notice that I bring my bit out quite often, and that's to take the sawdust out of the drill sleeve, okay? So you won't be able to hear me now. So that was me kind of clearing out the sawdust. All right, and those 2 pocket holes are drilled. And that's what it's gonna look like. And I did it on the bottom. Okay, so I thought maybe you'd want to see this from a different view. So I set it up kind of behind the camera. I'm gonna drill some more holes. Our board's in there the way we want, and I'm gonna drill into A and C, just like we talked about. So I put the drill bit in. I'm not touching the wood right now. Full speed. Clear it out until it hits the collar. Loosen the clamp, and you can see that that is our pocket holes again. And now comes time to attach, using those pocket holes that we made, attach C to B. And how we're going to do that is we're going to use this type of a clamp. So it's got this kind of wobbly flat surface on one side, and then just a peg on the other side. And that peg is meant to fit down into our board and clamp stuff, okay? And we can adjust the size that we clamp by using this little kind of threaded bolt down there. And by twisting that, there it's getting wider, twist it the other way, and it's coming together. And the idea here is that we're going to adjust that, excuse me, until we are having this clamp hold our 2 boards together. So I'm going to slide that down there, and right now it's way too tight, so I've got to loosen it. Getting close, loosen it some more. I think we're close enough. So now I actually want to try to line that up perfect, and then I clamp it down. And so now you can see with that clamp, I've created that perfect connection. It's flush there, flush here, and I'm ready to drive a screw into the open one, the open pocket hole. In the drill bit room, the tool room, we have a drawer that's for long bits. There are several different kinds of long square tip bits. Doesn't really matter which one you do, but you do want the long ones. And then if you're ever not sure what size screw to use, we use this chart, and it's got our board thicknesses. So in our situation, both piece A and piece B are 1¼ inch. So then I line up. So there I have 1¼ inch, and I'm going to spin this inner part around so that the 1¼ inch matches up. And there, if you can read that, it says that I use 2-inch screws. I'm not sure it's going to be clear enough. There's our 2-inch screws. So I went ahead and got some 2-inch screws. And we want to make sure that it's got the collar on it like this. These are called washer head. They're flat up here at the top. These are the right screws to use for driving a screw. Take out our old, the original drill bit, and we're going to put in our drive bit. I'm going to do that the same way by tightening down. And now I want to go back to the screw setting. And now we engage this clutch. And we don't want too much power at first, so I'm going to set it to 30. Okay, and that'll be pretty good power to start with. And that will make sure that I don't strip out a screw. You're going to kind of need to spin your board around so you can get to the pocket hole. I put a screw on my square drive bit. And on that little angle that the pocket hole made, I line up my drill and my screw, and I'm gonna go nice and slow. I can actually adjust the speed back down to 1 on that so I don't go too fast. And that, I can take my clamp out, and my board is now connected by the 1 screw. And I want to run the other one to get it nice and perfect. So I take my clamp out, and I'm going to do that whole same process again into this open one now, which is this one right here. So I've got it lined up on the angle. Nice and slow. And that was with the 30 clutch setting one more time. And now I have a nice, very strong connection there with my Kreg Jig. And so that joint's all done. That was B and C coming together with the Kreg Jig.